Welcome to this week's new episode of the podcast. MG, we have a special guest. Scotty decided to leave us today. He's got better things to do. But luckily, we have Jess, ICN Head Judge, with us today. Welcome, Jess. How is everything feeling leading up until a big season at the moment?
Everything's going good. Thanks for having me on the show today. Long-time listener, so it's kind of nice to be on the other side of it. Things are ramping up pretty intensely. My September and October calendar is just chock-a-block. So I think I'm working, every weekend coming up for the next 2 months. But it's nice to just be getting back into comp season. You kind of miss it when it's gone. So it feels good.
Yeah, I think to say that. Do you miss it? Like, I know sometimes we have a bit of a lull where we're like, oh, finally we get a bit of a break. But then we're like, oh my God, I cannot wait till the shows to start. Do you kind of feel the same?
Yeah, I do. So, when I go to like the posing workshop, you see all the girls there and some of them are, they've been posing since last year or season 8 and they're getting ready for season B, and you sort of see everyone get ready and getting like, tighter and leaner, and you're like, oh, okay, it's coming now. And, the stage lights hit you and the tan gets to you, and, you're driving home and you're deaf because you can't hear anything because the music's been blaring all day. So it's just all part of the experience. So I'm it's definitely something that I miss when it's not there.
Actually, I've got a question for you about that that I only just thought about right now is, do you think it's an advantage for people to go to workshops and get their eyes in front of the judges? Or do you think it's better to not do that as often and just have a big reveal on show day? Like, hey, this is me. You've never seen me before. Look how amazing I look. What do you think?
Up to the competitor. I mean, if you want the experience of getting feedback from a judge or seeing what other girls are out there as well, I think it's, some people can handle seeing other girls or other guys in a prep and then being able to have their blinkers on and just kind of go like, oh, this is just what I need to do. I'm not going to get carried away with that, because other people will see people at a comp workshop and go, I don't look anything like that. What am I going to do? It doesn't put any bias towards you. If I see you at 10 workshops, if I don't see you at any workshop, I'm not going to sort of favor you above anyone else. I look for the best package on the day that meets the criteria. So whether you're first time seeing you or 10th time, doesn't matter.
Yeah. MG, do you actually get that too, where some lights come from workshops? Yeah.
I do. I get a lot of athletes always ask me, is like, oh, maybe I don't want to go. Maybe I don't want them to see me. And it's like, for the most part, I reckon the answer to the question is, for 95% of athletes, the more times you can be in a group setting and practicing, whether the head judge is there or not, that in itself is a benefit. You've also got to remember, Jess goes to workshops like that start maybe 12 weeks out. She's not going to remember you when you're 5 kilos later. She might remember you, but it's a different physique. And, as directors of a federation and as head judges, we know athletes evolve over time. So, at that workshop that's 8 weeks out, Jess is not expecting you to be in stage competition, and she's not judging you on that day. The workshops that we run, we regularly start the workshop off by saying, guys, today is not pre-judging. So don't stress if you make a mistake. Today's about learning. And I think for the most part, most athletes need to spend more time posing in a group setting. Again, that's not everyone. There are some amazing elite posers, but I think most of us could always do with a little bit more exposure and practice.
Yeah, definitely. So coming up, what's the first show that you're going to be judging at this season for VICs?
The first one is on the 29th of September, so it's the grand final weekend show. That's one of our regional shows, so probably a little bit of a smaller show compared to, like your VICs and, especially your nationals as well. But it's always a great chance for people to sort of get in before VICs and just sort of test the waters if they're ready to. So really keen for that sort of show. I do love our little regional shows sometimes. It just kind of gives the opportunity for people that are a bit far out or wherever they are to get the opportunity to compete. And then, we kick it off and straight into it.
I love that Ballarat show. I've got 6 in that Ballarat show.
Wow.
Nice.
Just purely because I've always had great experiences there. This time around, I just actually happen to have 3 athletes that live in Ballarat. But I've always done it with my Melbourne team, but this time I've got some actual Ballarat competitors, which is awesome. But it's always been, one of my probably favourite season B shows of the season, and I've told Tony this in the past, and it sounds like this one's going to be actually a bigger Ballarat show for you guys.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Good. I'm hoping so. Like the more competitors, the better. There's more variety. It's kind of like more people to compete against as well. So it gives you sort of more of that experience.
Yeah, I spoke to Tom last week just via messages, and he sounds like it's going to be bigger than normal, so that's good.
Good.
I actually really like the Ballarat medal. It's that Southern Cross, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I really like that medal.
It is really cool. I got to give it to ICN. The medals that they bring out year after year, I'm just like, oh man, these are cool. Like some of them spins, some of them are like the dumbbells. And I'm just like, these are pretty cool if you compete year after year. You've just kind of got this collection of like all these different medals.
Yeah, they had that spinning one, the one in the middle where it's spun around. Yeah. They're pretty sick. That was so cool. Yeah. Tony does think about ways to do something differently every single time. Yeah, and he's really, really good at that. Tony's really, really good at that. Okay, so then you have that one. Then you have the VIC state titles, which is over 2 days, the 5th and the 6th.
Yeah.
I think it's split male. Is it males and figure, and then all females the next day, I believe, from what I can remember?
I think it is. I'd have to double check the lineup. Sometimes it's just like they do. I think last year they just had the men on one day, then they had the females on the other day. I'm not sure if they're doing that the same way again, but I love VIX. It's just kind of like you get that atmosphere that it's like, oh, this is like really serious, and people are here to sort of show up what they've got, and they've been working. Like some people will wait all year just for that one show, because then they'll do that, then they'll qualify for nationals. So pressure's on, but I love it.
Excited.
Yeah, that's a big day for you. Like it's 2 days back to back. Do you guys normally rotate in and out a little bit to have a bit of a break, toilet stops, that kind of stuff, or do you try to just white knuckle it and stay there the whole time?
We do our best. So when I am doing like the feedback allocations, because I'll make sure that every person is going to get feedback for the day, whatever category and division that they're in. But then I also make sure that I allocate time for the judges to have like toilet break or get some food or something like that. They are pretty big shows. Like Andrew and I will mostly kind of sit through the bulk of it, being like the Australian judge and the Victorian judge. But yeah, these are huge days. By the end of it, like your butt doesn't work, you can't walk, you're sweating profusely and you haven't moved, and you're just like, this is like a workout in itself. So you just gotta come caffeinated. But Patricia is so beautiful that she'll bring us food throughout the day, and she'll bring us coffees to just sort of help keep us going as well. So, hats off to Patricia.
That's awesome. That's so good. She does really look after you guys, doesn't she?
She's a real mum. I love her. Yeah, she does the best.
The things I look forward to at an ICN show is that hug that I get at the door. I mean, I'd go to an ICN show without a competitor just for one of those Patricia hugs.
It's a great way to start the comp day. I feel like it's a good luck charm that you get.
For sure.
And this season is at a new venue, right? It's at is it Sydenham?
Yeah, CRC in I think Sydenham or Caroline's around that way of town. It's not at the old school.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's definitely a bigger venue. It's never been run there before. I remember Tony back maybe about a year ago or so, he sent me some photos of it saying this is what it's looking like. It's under construction. It's pretty big. It looked really, really impressive. So I'll be really, really keen to see how it all goes.
Same, me too. It's always kind of a bit interesting going to a new venue that you haven't been before. I think my biggest thing is where are the judges placed to the stage. It's just about making sure that there's like enough distance between the competitors and the judges, making sure people aren't sort of like taking photos and recording like right behind us. I noticed that at the other CRC venue as well. So it's a bit tricky just trying to like get people back out, move them aside just so we can write what we need to or say what we need to. Because people tend to think that they can read our lips or whatever it may be. And you're like, I'm just trying to do my job. Just leave me alone. So it'll be really exciting to see. And I'm pretty sure the lighting's going to be incredible because there's been a lot more emphasis on the lighting for the shows as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then obviously then Nationals is also there. So I'm assuming the judging panel will be a little bit bigger, right? Because you need to have like representation from every state. And you'd be doing that because you'd be representing Victoria, right?
Yeah, it would be Andrew and I for certain, and then we'd probably have, like Jason from Queensland. Last year we had representative from, I think it was Western Australia. and we also had New Zealand that joined us as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have sort of like a bit of everyone that kind of joins, which is great because then we're able to just sort of collaborate, make sure we're on the same page. And we actually found last year at Nationals, despite having these massive lineups, we would sort of go through like our top 5 or, you know, maybe like even top 8. And we were getting really similar results. So it was like, great, we're already thinking on the same page. We're able to just sort of like fine tune it and narrow it down now. So it was good considering we hadn't sort of worked with each other before. It was really seamless.
That's awesome. Actually, that was one of the questions I wanted to go over is
Yes.
how do you actually do the judging? Is it pen, paper, and then you hand it over? Is there a way that it's like a voting system, it's majority rules, or do you go head to head and, you know, and have words with each other? Like, how does it normally go down on the table?
Yeah, so we will have sort of, you know, like my like workbook is like into a grid for each division and each category. And so I'll be watching girls. I'll be watching, and I tell this at the workshops, I'm watching you before you even get up on the stage. If I can see you out the corner of my eye, I'm watching you because I want to see how you walk on, how you hold yourself, how you do your stage walk. I know that's not part of the official judging, but if you're on, then my eyes are instantly drawn to you. So I think that's kind of something that I always remind the guys and girls to be mindful of. But we'll sort of, I'll see all the girls come up, they'll do their stage walks, we'll do a round of quarter turns. And after those round of quarter turns, I'm like, okay, I'm making my list, I'm getting people ready. There might be people outer in the line, and then I'll communicate to whoever like MC is, like of the judges, and I'll go, I want that person moved over here. Can you move these people around? I need to compare similar body types. And then after we've sort of done a round or so of quarter turns, we'll start sharing our results to go, okay, we're on the same page. Yep, tick, that's number 1. Okay, now we've got to work out 2 and 3, or we have to work out 3 or 4, etc. Tricky part is sometimes you have such a big lineup, it takes you so long to get through it. You might split the lines. After 10-15 minutes, someone can't hold it anymore, someone else is looking better, you have to go back, you have to sort of revisit it all. So it's a lot harder than what people think, just being like, oh, obviously this person's the best because they're my cousin or they're my boyfriend. And it's like, oh, might not necessarily be the case being on the judging panel. I don't know who anyone is. We've got to see how you look the whole time that you're up there. So there's lots of considerations.
So it sounds like, yeah, go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's a really good point. It's something that we talk about all the time. In fact, we were just talking about it on the weekend, how, you know, you are on and need to be on the entire time. You know, we give examples regularly to our athletes about, you know, there being a first and a second and it being really, really close. And, you know, maybe 2 of the judges are leaning in 2 different ways and you're like, all right, we haven't decided, let's just keep comparing the back line. And all of a sudden one keeps holding that pose beautifully and one just starts to drop a little bit. And you see it, right? And people have to remember that judges have got eyes. In fact, they've got really, really good eyes. And it's human nature. You're going to be drawn to things that are a bit of a standout, whether that's a positive standout or a negative standout as well. So and what people can take from what Jess has just said there is, you know, whether you're on stage for 2 minutes or 20 minutes, your job, and if you've put 26, 30 weeks into a dieting phase and you're willing to get uncomfortable and do that, is to make sure that you can sustain your posing endurance.
Yep, 100%. The posing really, like, you know, you got to put in the hard work, you got to have the physique, you got to do everything that you need to, but that posing can really just make or break all that hard work that you've done.
I want to get to posing in a second, but going back to, is it with the judging, is it majority rules, or, you know, is it an even or odd number of judges? Who makes the final decision? Can the head judge get outvoted technically? Like, how does it all work from that perspective?
Yeah, so it's all just like a group effort. So if, you know, if we have like 5 judges on the panel and there's 4 of us that are like, this person's number 1, these are our reasons why we really love this person, then it's kind of a, you know, you got to sort of prove your case or point out why you think your 2nd or 3rd place person is better than number 1. But usually we'll sort of give our reasons why. We look at the criteria, you know, for each, you know, category as well. And then it's like, yep, well, this is what the majority says, so this is what we're going to do. But we talk a lot on the panel. It's not just a matter of I hand over 5 numbers and then it goes to our, you know, like Andrew, and then he goes, oh, well, I'm going to make the decision because I'm the final judge. He tells us, he's like, if you think someone is more appropriate, you got to fight for it. You got to tell us what you want. So we talk a lot, and that's why sometimes Tony will kind of be like, oh, you're giving the judges a hard time. And I'm just like, I don't need the extra stress. Like, I'm just trying to like work out who's like the best fit for this. So sometimes it's a really tough call, like it can be really, really hard, and just like the tiniest things can make it. But yeah, no, we communicate really well, and we make sure that we're on the same page. So yeah, it's kind of a majority rules in some situations, but usually we can explain our case.
Yeah. And that was going to bring to my next point, because a common question that we get asked, or what sometimes goes around the industry, is that there's bias. You can have favoritism from one judge. You could buy a judge off technically if you really wanted to, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Is it even possible? If it's majority rule, you have to buy off majority of judges, right?
In my 6 years being a judge, I've never had someone try to slip me like a $10 note at the table. I've never had someone come up to the table and give me lollies, give me candy. Like, I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. So I'm just sort of like, look, I rock up on my day, I get my stuff down, off I go. So yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty silly to do that anyway, because I feel like you're just kind of shooting yourself and your competitor in the foot. If you're trying to do that, you're sort of like, why is this happening?
Yeah, we get a similar thing asked for us, because we obviously are directors of a federation. It's like, oh, but what if your clients are just the ones that do well? It's like, if our clients do well, they'll do well at every federation. And equally, the trade-off for us as the owners of the business, if we just let our clients win, all that does is help our egos. But it's going to run our business into the ground, and we're not, that's stupid that we put all this time, investment, and money into something just to make ourselves look good. Yeah,
it's kind of funny when people make those accusations, because you're like, all right, you have your own reasons for it, but there have been times on the panel where you might know someone who's competing. I've had partners compete before, and anytime that happens, one of us, we just get up and we leave the table completely. We go sit in the audience and we go watch them, or whatever it may be. So there's sort of no conflict there of someone, and no one's coaching anyone that's on the judging panel that's going to be a competitor as well. So we've got that level of separation there.
Yeah, and sometimes you will know people, or they're a friend of yours, or even they're a fellow judge that is competing that now you have to judge, right? Which I know happens too, and it might even happen to you if you're going to compete in the future too. So, but I think I've heard judges say, and I think it was Bridget told me this, and she's an ICN judge too. She said, I literally don't look at anyone's face. I just look at their body. Like, obviously I acknowledge their face, but she's like, when I'm judging, it's like, cut the head off, right? I don't know who they are. I'm just looking at the body and just comparing them all.
Yes.
Is that something that you do also? Obviously, someone that's smiling, you got to look at their face, because it completes the package, right? But is it kind of similar thing? It's like, I'm not looking at the person because that's Jane or Mary. I'm looking at the physique of that person.
100%. I'm obviously like not going to be like super awkward and just like look off in the corner and like not make eye contact at all, because I want to see some eye contact. I want to see that people are engaged with the judges, and also if I'm going to be calling out your name, I need to look at you as well, make sure you're paying attention. I guess I'm kind of lucky. Like I'm in Geelong. There's kind of, I feel like there's not many competitors that I run into at my gym there. But I'm not, just because I see you doesn't mean I'm going to be biased towards you and, favor you or something like that. So I'm there to look at your physique. I'm there to see if you match the criteria. Are you symmetrical? Do you have the right muscularity, the appropriate shape? And then we just take it from there. So just because I see you at 10 different workshops doesn't mean you've got an upper hand.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
We debunk this thing that, and certainly for us at NBA, it's the same. I know it's the same for you guys. The judges don't know whose coach someone is. They haven't got a list of who's coached by who. And am I right in saying you guys literally, unless it's an athlete that you've seen yourself physically, you don't know who they are, and you certainly don't know who coaches them?
Oh no, unless the coach is like yelling behind me, like, and I can like understand that voice and that competitor number, that's the only time I'd be like, oh, that might be so and so, because everyone's cheering for that person. But no, with our competitors that we get, the list that we get, I literally just have like a piece of paper that just has, this is the category in the division and this is the person and their number. And I'm like, cool, off I go. I don't have any sort of other information about the person.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even recognize people because you've seen them at workshops and stuff, and then they're on stage, they got hair, makeup, tan, everything. I sometimes even walk past my competitors on a show day because I don't even recognize who they are. So you probably don't even recognize half the people, even if you had met them before at the gym or at a workshop or anything like that.
Nah, but also like you see all these people at workshops, but they could be doing shows a year away from now. They could be doing shows in 6 weeks, 12 weeks, or they go to a different state or something like that. So half the time I see girls and then I go to the comp day and I'm like, oh, I've only seen like 2 of them that I may recognize. And that's because they've been up on stage maybe like 3 or 4 times by now. And you're like, oh, that's so-and-so. And then I'm like, all right, cool. Keep looking at everyone else. Keep doing my thing. I don't get hung up on it.
Yeah. All right. Let's move into posing and if it's important or not important, or which parts of posing is important.
Yeah.
One thing that we get asked and we talk about is the transitions and whether they're important or not. Is it just once you're in your static pose, as long as you are hitting that static pose, that's the most important thing, or it doesn't matter how you get in there and how you get out of there? Does all the stuff in between matter, or is it just as long as you're in your pose, we don't care how you got there?
No, I care about everything that I see on stage. As soon as you get up there, everything has to be like on, as I call it. You know, you have to have this stage present. You have to have this etiquette, you know, the way you walk, the way you hold yourself, the way your fingers are, whether you're doing like the claw, like Chandler Bing from Friends, or, you know, some people do like the kind of teacup hands. So, you know, I'm very mindful of what everyone does. And especially during your transitions, the transition is not a time for you to just relax. And I think more of the guys do this, I've found. I think they sort of, you know, because they're holding and you can hear them like exhale. And then they turn to the side and then they're ready to go again. And it's like, no, guys, need to be on the whole time. It's nice to have those little transitions as well. It just makes your routine look fuller and nicer. So, you know, for anyone listening, please practice your poses and your transitions and your endurance. It also just makes it a lot more enjoyable for people in the audience as well to see it, because it's the full package.
Yeah, I think it's something that's definitely evolved and became more important over the last 5 to 10 years for sure. I also say that in your transition is a point where you could expose your weaknesses if you don't know how to transition correctly, or you lose focus, or you don't pop the booty or the muscle or whatever that may be in the right. You'll expose, oh, okay, her glutes are actually flat. I can actually see that. Oh, her gut's sticking out. Okay, I can actually see that. So the transition is also part of your posing, and it's also part of where you want to hide your weaknesses and just show your strengths.
100%. Like if you've got 2 people on stage and one person is meeting the mark on like all their posing, their transitions, and everything's just really poised, and then you've got someone else who has a great physique who's only hitting those quarter turns, but then they're breathing through their gut in between their transitions, or they're slouching. Man, I'm picking the person that's got the full package. So, sometimes it does come down to those finer details. So if you're going to do all the comp prep and starve yourself and do all the cardio and eat every single macro, you kind of want to go away from that day knowing you gave it everything you got. Like you've gone all that way. So just do stage day like best that you can as well.
Yeah. All right. Let us have it. Do you have any posing pet peeves, like people that, I don't know, bounce when they walk? I'm just thinking something. Is it when they, like, you don't like the front on front pose, for instance, or is there anything that you're just like, oh, it never looks good on anyone, don't do that anymore? Is there something that it's just a bit of a pet peeve? Like for me, the bouncing is in more so in sports they do it, like they've got their runners on, that they're like they're bouncing a bit. The only thing is that when you bounce, there can be jiggle, and you don't want to show the jiggle, right?
Yeah.
So is there things like that you're noticing, like, oh, I just wish people wouldn't do that anymore? It never looks good on anyone.
I feel like you hit a trigger when you said the bouncing, because I totally get what you mean when people bounce, but some people bounce, but they overly accentuate the swish. if that makes sense. Because there's like a way to walk where you kind of switch slightly, but some people just like, I don't know what's going on. But I'm like, hey, just maybe fix your walk next time or slow it down a little bit. So yeah, definitely the walk can be a bit strange. The hands kind of get me when people do like the spears or the claws or whatever it may be, because I feel like everyone's tensing everything so hard and then it just looks really off when they do that. So they're two of my little peeves. And I'm a bit of I love flats. I love seeing that width and then coming down to that taper. I get so disappointed when there's no activation of the lats. And I try to go on about that in the workshops and I'm just like, you want to make that waistline look small. You want to give that illusion of that tiny waistline and nice big upper body. So I just want to see lats activated and I don't want to see them getting hidden behind you or something like that. So that's kind of my thing that I try to emphasize as well.
Yeah. MG, if you're critiquing anyone's posing, is lats like one of the biggest things that you're critiquing? It's like either it's in the front pose or the back pose. It's something that...
You know what my biggest pet peeve is? Fucking pinched scapulars. I swear to God, how, like, I understand, as someone who's had lat activation issues, I've worked hard to make sure that I know how to get my lats out. And again, people are willing to go down and eat sub 1,200 calories for 10 weeks straight and supper, but not work out how to fucking get their lats to spread in a back pose. I'm talking about, for the most part, and it's far more exaggerated on guys. You see it all the time, but you got these guys, they're inside out shredded. They come up in a rear pose and they just pinch that scapula together so far, and they literally have no width whatsoever. That is definitely frustrating. You just want to fucking jump on stage and fucking just pull them out. You know what I mean? I'm sure you're judging it, so for you it must be even more frustrating. The other thing that gets me a little bit is like, you know, when you got like a physique guy or a fitness guy who just stands there and poses like a bodybuilder.
Oh, actually, now that you say that, yes, for the girls are good with understanding their posing for their category, but like I love the men's categories and I love classic physique. Nothing breaks my heart more than when you're like classic variations only and you only get physique poses that don't do any classic variations, and you're like, you might have the best physique on there, but if you're not doing classic physique posing, which is for the classic physique divisions, sorry, you're not actually meeting the criteria, and it's really upsetting sometimes and you'll try and on the microphone you're like, classic physique variations only, reminder, classic physique variations, and it just falls on deaf ears.
Actually, on that with classic, and I can't remember what it's up to at the moment, but in Vic, do you guys still call the pose and then the variation, like side chest and then classic variation, or is it all classic stuff?
All just variations. And Andrew, who does the call-outs, he'll say at the start, he'll be like, we will only be doing classic variations, so go straight into your variation. And you can tell the people who practice it because it looks really seamless. It looks so good to see and they really enjoy themselves. But then, yeah, other people are just holding their classic poses and you're like, you can't say anything.
Can I do one more just while we're on it? Now I'm on a
yeah, let's go.
It's just because I like seeing Jess's reaction on screen. And we speak about this a lot at workshops too. But I'll give an example. It's like, all right, can I please get 45 and 27 switch places? 45. And then the guy next to 45 is like, dude, that's you. He pokes him and he's like, you got to step back.
Oh, man, it's, I'm like looking into your soul right now and I'm just like,
your eyes, yeah.
I think the guys are a bit notorious, but the girls are a little bit better with understanding their numbers and remembering them and moving. It could just be nerves. Could just be nerves on the day that people forget their numbers or where to move.
I think the takeaway from this is like, and Jess, I'm sure you'll agree with this. If you're a competitor listening and any judge at any Fed calls your number out, just pop your hand up,
please,
and just be like, "Yeah, I've heard you." It makes such a difference.
It does. Step back, have a look.
That's it.
You know, like when you cross the road, you're in your kids, stop, look both ways, and then you can go, But it's all right. It's all right. One day we'll have perfection. I'm not asking for much.
Let's go into some category specific things. So a question that we actually got asked was about sports model in like what are you, these are judging criteria, what are you looking for in a sports model? It seems the winner seems to change every season, right? And we hear this a lot. It's like, because sometimes we review shows when we're all there and we'll be, that was the best person on the day. So tell us why, you know, winners might look different every show, every season, and maybe for sports model specifically, what you're kind of looking for there.
Yeah, of course. So you kind of hit the nail on the head there. We can only judge who was up there on the day. So when it's a smaller show, you might have a couple girls that are really lean and muscular. Then you might have the others that are a bit fuller and softer. And you have to sort of make that decision there. Are we going for which look here? So we have to make sure that we're consistent as well. Whereas in a bigger show, it's actually easier in a sense because you've got more competitors. You can sort of compare them against each other. So with sports model, so you've got like bikini, and then it goes to sports model, then fitness. Sports model, we want to see muscles. We want to see that muscular development. You know, we want to see that you've got like cap shoulders, you've got some abs, you've got definition in your legs, but it's not the level of fitness where it's dry and lean and there are some striations coming through as well. So it's a bit more of a softer look, but we can still see that there is, you know, evident muscle there. There's the symmetry and there's the balance, nice full glutes as well. So that's what we're looking for in sports model. I feel like, you know, yeah, the bigger shows, it's a lot easier to judge that. It's a lot easier to sort of pick the girl who's going to be the best fit. Smaller shows is a lot harder because there's just not as many competitors.
Yeah. Would you say that generally, let's say for bigger shows, so we can, it's more better example, that normally because you can cross compete, sports fitness can cross compete, sports bikini can cross compete, would you say more often that a fitness girl does a little bit better than in sports than a bikini girl, or you tell me?
Yep, no, I agree. So sports and fitness in my eyes are more closely aligned because we're looking for that level of muscularity, whereas bikini is a slimmer build, really nice full glutes. So there's kind of a difference there. I personally am a fan of muscles. I love muscles. So, and when you read the criteria when we're looking for muscles, I'm like, great, that's what is going to draw my eye here. When you have gym models, so gym model and bikini are very closely aligned, and so is swimsuit. So those three are kind of bunched together. Then you've got your sports and fitness. Wellness is wellness. And we're still getting there because it's still a relatively new category as well. But wellness is bigger legs than any of the other categories, not, you know, like figure body where you've got all these striations, but wellness is about that imbalance from the upper half and the lower half, really large glutes, hamstrings and quads there. So we still see people trying out and people are doing kind of in different categories. I understand if it's your first time, you may not be too sure of what to enter. That's where you got to speak to your coach, have a look at the criteria as well. But generally, wellness is sort of its own.
Yeah, I think as you find with any new category, people are always going to dabble in it and see if they do well at it and things like that. And then again, it's the same thing as before. You can only judge what's there. So
100%.
even the winner may not be what you ideally want for wellness, but they're the best wellness competitor on the day. So that can also throw people off because they're like, oh, that's what they want for wellness, but not the case. That was the best for that lineup for that day. But as the category evolves, you'll get closer to what you actually really, really want for wellness. I actually really like how bikini girls should look more at swimsuit, because I think more bikini girls are more suited to that than sports. But I get it. There's a cost difference. Like sports wear get given to you, right? And you just put white runners on and you're good, right? Whereas swimsuit, there's an added cost of actually buying a swimsuit. I wish there was a way to like get a 2-for-1 deal with your bikini or whatever it is, because I think that bikini girls are more suited if they are going to cross compete to go into that swimsuit, not into sports. It's very, very rare that I find a bikini girl that also will do really, really well in sports, unless they're that kind of bigger, more muscular bikini girl. So I'd love to see wellness swimsuit grow a little bit more too, for sure.
Yeah, I know that at nationals we had a gigantic bikini lineup. There was 25 girls, and that was a monster and a half to judge and get all the lineup done there. But usually at shows it's a little bit smaller. We sort of don't have multiple lineups of swimsuit. But yeah, I feel like swimsuit and bikini are definitely sort of interchangeable there, just with the physiques that we're judging.
Yeah, I remember talking to Tony, I think it was last year, and I said, I think your swimsuit's looking bigger. I know even in my team, there was more people doing it. I think I maybe had 4 or 5 in that season where I never had before.
Yeah.
And I said, I think you're going to have to look into doing more subcategories for swimsuit, like a novice or an age or whatever that may be. And I think they started doing that last year, which is good to see. And then I saw the announcement that I think this season they're actually going to have like an overall swimsuit. So they actually are going to combine them together, or all the subdivisions will come together to go for an overall swimsuit, which is really, really cool.
I think that'll be nice to sort of, put the spotlight on, just because it's getting more popular and there's more interest from it as well. So kind of bring it in line with the other categories.
Yeah. We actually got a question about the new stage walk. It's not new because I know you've already done it this year, but what that new walk kind of looks like for ICN at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So the new stage walk came out at the start of this year, and basically the girls will get called out. They'll come to the middle, and then they'll start splitting off left to right, and they'll go to the outside of the line. And basically what the stage walk does is it allows more sort of time and a spotlight for you as the competitor to walk out there, hit a pose or two, walk to your line, maybe hit 1 or 2 more poses, and then stand there. And we've got the gap in the middle for the last person that gets called out, because usually when the last person would get called out in the old lineups, everyone will walk up, and the last person, if it's a busy lineup, takes 1 step and stands there in their front pose. He's sort of like, cool, thanks. All right, off we go to official judging. So just make sure that everyone gets a little bit more stage time. It kind of splits the lineup as well, so you're not just like stuck at the end. Usually we do mix the lineups as well, but it just kind of gives you a little bit more flair and a bit more personality in your walk. That being said, though, if you're nervous, you don't have to kind of go overkill and do all these different posings and twirls and spins. Some girls are like, I don't know, they can do anything in these heels. And even like the guys, they really use that time to sort of show off. And it's great if that's what you want to do, but don't feel like you have to be like the bee's knees and do all this like amazing posing work in that time, because the official judging will start after that stage walk.
Yeah, that's really, really good, because it sounds like everyone gets the same amount of time roughly, or at least the same amount of walking distance when they get introduced. Because you're right, whenever there's a big lineup, it's the last person just goes, and I'm on stage, and they're just like 1 step and they're on the line, you know what I mean? So I don't really get a good look at. So and actually technically the last person to come on stage is the one that gets in the middle position, right?
So if you're the tallest in that lineup, congratulations, you get spot in the middle. That's not me though. I'd be immediately like off to the corner because I'm the shortest. So
that's awesome. That's really, really cool. And then the other question that we got was about the new different overalls. So there's that novice elite overall that's been introduced. And I know something that was introduced last season was the pro qualifier card, which I think only Victoria was doing it last season, but I think it's going to be across every state from what I remember for this coming season. So do you want to explain both of those?
Yeah, so the novice elite is basically the winner of every division goes up to compete against each other. So you've got, your first timer, your novice, your mama, your 23, like all of those sort of ones. Whoever wins that will go up against each other. That's different from the open though. The open is like all the open class winners will battle it out for the pro qualifier, but with the novice elite as well, they will battle it out. So a lot of the times we find that with that novice elite, because girls will enter so many categories, you might only end up having 2 or 3 people, because if they've started winning their other categories like 23 and first timer and something like that, you only have a few of them up there. And it just sort of highlights and gives those girls or those guys a chance as well to sort of be in the limelight. They might be the overall for the novice elite. So that answers the first part of your question. What was the second part as well?
The other one was the pro qualifier card, that concept. Yeah.
So the pro qualifier card basically allows you to enter into a pro show, and that's like your qualifier into a pro show. And if you win that, then you get your pro card. So we're not just sort of handing out pro cards at every show, and then you've got all of these pros, but we want to make sure that the pros that are awarded and win are of that, that level of competitor, because it's, the best of the best. So we want the best of the best to win their pro cards.
Yeah, that's really, really good. That novice elite overall, I think it's good in a way that it stops just everyone and anyone going into the open, because you just see the open is flooded with, I technically think, too many people that maybe should just stick to their first timer class or their age class or whatever. So now we maybe have that separation where the open is left for people that aren't a mum, aren't a first timer, aren't a beginner, don't fit in an age category, have nowhere else to go but in the open. And then if someone maybe wants to do 2 or 3 divisions, but they only fit in 1 or 2, they can go in the open. So it's just not everyone going in there and flooding it, and it's only the people that really need to be in there are in there. So that those other people still feel special because they get to go into their own overall, which I think is something cool. And I think it's only been rolled out in Victoria, but it'd be good to see if the other states do pick it up. I know Tony always looks for ways to give to the competitors. He's like a really good custodian of the sport, and he really wants to make sure that everyone has a great experience and that everyone gets, their opportunity to shine. So no surprise that, Victoria is kind of heading the way in some of these new concepts with the novice elite, the pro qualifier, those kind of things, because that's exactly what Tony's all about. He's all about trying to do the best he possibly can. We said it in another podcast, I think a couple of podcasts ago, didn't we, MG, about who were some of the better or the best, or who we think is the best promoter or president that we see at the moment. And Tony was one of the ones who said he's definitely at the top of the list. Like, he's someone there that pumps the crowd up. He knows what his role is. He hands things over to the judges, doesn't get involved, and then makes sure that there's cool tunes. Some people call them cool tunes, but he gets people dancing at least, which is fun. But yeah, Tony's awesome. Tony's awesome.
Definitely, man. Yeah, he definitely knows how to make it a special day. He's really good at interacting with people in the crowd too, without being over the top, involving coaches, and they just they do provide a great experience. Are you wearing an ICN t-shirt?
Me?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd wear it for the occasion.
Yeah, there you go. Is that a?
So this is a champion trainer t-shirt, which only Victoria they gave these out. I don't even remember which season it was. I think Tony had only done it once for one season. I don't even remember what year it was. I was like, I'm going to wear this in the potty. My Victorian ICN champion trainer singlet t-shirt.
Perfect. It'll be good because I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the t-shirt in the podcast thumbnail, and people who haven't got any context, they're like, "What? MT switched over to ICN?"
They've got to watch it on Spotify or YouTube. They've got to watch the visual. And who doesn't want to see our faces? Come on, guys.
Yeah, be real. Come on.
All right, so Jess, I want to talk a little bit more about you. Like, obviously, we know you're a judge, but what else do you do with your spare time? What do you do in your career, your job?
What I do in my career, it's very different to bodybuilding. So I'm a product specialist for end-of-life products.
Oh,
it sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? But for wills and powers of attorney and executor, sort of assist and deceased estates administration. So that's sort of my bread and butter. So
that is definitely different. That's definitely different. And so have you been doing that for a while?
Yeah, a few years now. I've been doing that. Before that, I worked in the charitable space where, if people leave a gift in their will for a charity or to establish a trust or a scholarship, I made sure that funds were administered to said cause or charity or scholarship. So I was a giver of money, which was really, really nice. That was sort of like a nice little niche that I worked in for a few years as well. So I've always kind of been working in end of life.
Interesting. Well, at least you would know how to set everything up for your or for anyone else that needs to go through that eventually.
I've got my will, got my power of attorney. I'm ready to go. So actually, not that I want to go, but
MG, now with a daughter in the mix, do you think about all that kind of stuff?
Man, it's funny because look, I've got a financial background, so when you speak about that stuff, I should have clicked straight away, but my brain instantly went, what products do I want to play with when I'm going to die? And it wasn't financial product or anything, or legal product. It was like actual product.
Oh God, yeah, no, it's not like an app or anything like that.
It's like I'm going to go get myself like a 4-wheel bike or something like that. But
That's retirement. You're talking about retirement.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely do think about it, but I can't say I've updated anything just yet, because then it makes it real and you've got to have that conversation, which is definitely something that you should be doing. But I'm not at that point just yet.
I think for me, the way everything's set up for me at the moment is everything just goes to my brother, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
think
fine.
it's
Like,
yeah.
you keep it simple. My partner and I have shared everything to each other except his Skyline, because he's got an old Nissan Skyline. I don't get that. Goes to the brother, and I'm like, that's totally fine. I'm not going to do much with it anyway, so.
I'm a complete car guy, so I like the first thing I was thinking is like Skyline. What year is that one? I'm gonna have to check this Skyline out. So
the 33. Oh God, if he listens to this and I get it wrong, then
33.
I'm gonna have to redo my will because I'm gonna be single. Yeah.
It's his other baby. Yeah.
By looking at a photo of it in 1 second on your page, so we can always edit this out if it's going to get you in trouble. Don't worry.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. I just gotta run it and own with it. Yeah.
So obviously you have to fit all this judging, workshops, going to shows. That's obviously mostly on the weekends. So I'm assuming you don't work on weekends as your normal career.
No, I'm Monday to Friday for my normal career, and then outside of that, I think I just eat, sleep, and breathe gym, and then then all the workshops and the bodybuilding as well. So that's just my work outside of work.
Yeah, well, we can definitely tell that you train because those delts are popping out of that.
Of my shirt, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about like how you got into gym, even the comp history that you've had, and then maybe what you'll look at doing moving forward. Because I know I've seen some of your things on socials, and you definitely lift really, really hard and heavy, and made some really, really good gains. So tell us a little bit about the comp history in the gym journey.
Sure. So before I became a judge, I was a competitor with ICN. So I competed with the federation for a few years. I did sports and fitness, and it was great. It definitely like ignited my love for bodybuilding. I was always interested in it beforehand, but I had like no idea how to get into it. And this is, nearly 10 years ago, because I felt like bodybuilding was that thing of like, you hear people doing it, but it was like, I don't know who to go to for a coach or how to enter a competition. Now I feel like it's a lot easier to get in and register. I actually did pole dancing with a girl, and I was like, man, this girl has like monster legs. She looks incredible. We started talking. She's like, yeah, I do bodybuilding. And I was like, oh, it's like, can I have your coach's information? And then here I am, 10 years later, working on the judging panel. So I've always been like, fit kid. I started in gymnastics, so I like to attribute that to my back and my shoulders. Hopefully, I think it's just all the handstands and chin-ups and push-ups and things like that. And now I feel like a rock, where I've just been lifting weights, and you feel kind of stiff after all the years of doing it. But that's just me now, just in that kind of continuous cycle of bulking and then cutting and then bulking and then cutting, and there's no end in sight.
So what year did you compete, and how many times have you competed?
I first competed in 2016. So I started with my coach in 2015. We did like sort of a year of just like get to know you and bulk, and let's do like a cut for the comp. So that was my first year. And then second year was 2017. And then in 2018, I was like, I'm taking a year, but I reached out to Tony and I was like, I actually really want to be involved with the federation, but I'm not competing at this stage. How can I get involved? And he's like, we'd love to have you on as like a feedback and critique judge. And I started doing training for that. And then that sort of slowly moved along. And then I actually went back in 2019 and competed again. So I knew the judges on the panel, and that felt a little bit weird, to be honest. And I think we had a few judges competing that year. So I think if I am to compete again, which I'm not too sure of, might be doing a different federation, just to sort of have that clear distinction from, the judges that I work with. And that's just sort of my personal opinion. Other people can do what they want. That's just sort of probably the approach that I'll take next time.
Fair enough. And are you thinking like I2B, NBA, that style of show, or are you thinking FMG kind of do the hair flicks and twirls?
I don't think I have the hair flick and twirlness in me. You know, like even when I was a gymnast, like you look at like rhythmic gymnasts that are very sort of flary and very sort of energetic with their routines. Then you've got like artistic gymnasts where they do their floor routine, they're just like a powerhouse. And that was me. So it'd probably more be down that, you know, like the big boy leagues, like IFBB. I think everyone kind of looks at them and goes, oh, like that looks kind of exciting. But time will tell. At the moment, I've got a new coach, so we're just sort of getting to know each other and just sort of working things out there. And we'll see what the future has.
Can you, I'm going to try to get it out of you. Can you give us a year? Like, do we know when? Is it going to be like sometime next year, maybe 2026, 2020? What are we talking?
Honestly, I don't know myself. I'm not going to get up there until I feel like I am like spot on. Because like if I'm going to compete, I want to be like, you know, you have that goal in mind. You want to be the best that you can be. So, yeah, I'm just going to do me. And then when it's there, it's there. I'll be honest. When I did my last comp, I didn't put anything on socials until the day that I competed.
Oh, wow.
And it was after the show. I just kind of felt like just doing my own thing. I'm doing this for me, not for anyone else. So who knows? That might happen again.
Awesome.
I'm being a pain, aren't I?
No, that's okay. No, we'll get it out. We'll get it out of you.
Sure.
Do you practice any posing at all? Like it's been a long time since you competed. So are you still flicking some poses in and out of you sometimes when you're in front of the mirror or not? Or
I am definitely. Oh, I feel like that's just kind of once you start competing, you're always just kind of throwing a pose here and there.
Yeah.
So I actually have been doing some posing, but it's also to understand from like a competitor point of view, like, oh man, this is like really tough. But it also helps me understand things to look for and be mindful for. So when I'm practicing my posing, then I'm able to sort of give directions at other workshops with people that I work with, or even when I'm giving feedback to some of the girls or guys that I'm working with to go, oh, this is something that's really important that they need to be mindful of, and maybe they can implement this in their off season.
So going back to judging then, like if you were to give anyone some advice on how to become a judge, like what should they do? What's the process? Should they reach out to Tony, to you, to Andrew, to anyone?
Yeah, probably Tony is the best bet. Tony is like great to sort of reach out and have a chat with that sort of stuff about it. If you have like experience being a competitor, I think that's highly it's gonna be an advantage, because then you sort of being on both sides, you understand that when you are giving feedback as well, you can sort of relate to it and you can help people understand, you know, things that they should probably be doing in their off season or things that they should be changing with their posing. But Tony is the best person to have a chat with about that.
Yeah. I think also to become a judge, you need to pick not your career, but you need to pick what you want to do in the industry. Like if you want to be a comp prep coach, I wouldn't then go ask Tony to also be a judge. It's just that's not going to work, right? So pick where you think you're going to go in the path of bodybuilding so then you can make a decision on that.
Yeah. I think if your main gig is like being a prep coach, probably being a judge for the federation that you've got girls or boys entering may not be the best bet, because then you're going to probably be spending half of your time not on the judging panel. Yeah. So probably advise against that. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything that you want to add, MG? Any questions? Do you want to try to get out of her too when she's going to compete next? Or
like to not know what you're going to do next. I feel like for me at the moment, man, I'm just trying to get through a week where I'm walking pain-free. It's been such a nightmare with the knee. So I totally understand not knowing what's next from a competitive standpoint. But like, are there any plans or aspirations or anything that you want to do from a judging perspective? Like how far do you want to take this? And like, how long do you think being a judge is something that you could sustain and want to do?
I like being uncomfortable. So I feel like if there's more room for growth, then I'm going to take it. If there are shows that they want to send me to, I'll go to them, or anything like that. So I'm kind of open to it, but I really love being a part of the federation, being a head judge. So I don't have any interest of going anywhere else, or leaving. I feel like we've got a really good team, good support network with Tony and Patricia as well. So it's all sunshine and rainbows over here.
Yeah, I was actually wondering whether federations would mind if you judged in multiple feds. Like I know there are some judges that judge in multiple feds. Would that ever be something that you'd ever want to do? Like go across, maybe do IFBB or something else like that?
It would be really cool. It would be really cool to do that. I wonder what their sort of prerequisites are, because they are sort of different judging criterias for what we're looking at. Like I'd be more than happy to have that conversation if the opportunity did arise. But I'm also not sure if they want, you know, previous competitors from certain federations to be then on the judging panel. I've never sort of branched out about that, but that's a great question.
You setting her up to come and judge for NBA? Is that what you're
No, it's also like, we always need good judges, of course we do. But it's more so because I know, is it Joey in Queensland? Like he does NBA, he also does ICN. I think he even does WNBA. So like there's some judges that I know that do multiple feds. And so when MG brought the question about, you know, how do you want to expand your judging? Like where does your career progression go from a judging standpoint? That's when I thought, well, I wonder if you ever thought about the option of doing different federations and going that way.
Yeah, look, it sounds like a really good idea. I think if I'm able to have those conversations, that's something that I probably would talk to, but I wouldn't let it sort of interrupt the judging that I do already for ICN. Because I know sometimes you do get shows on the same date.
Yes.
I feel like now things are getting better with sort of juggling the shows. So I know that we're kind of spreading them out a little bit easier. Whereas in the past, I think we've had, like there's been IFBB and ICN shows on the same date. And it does make it hard for, you know, coaches or competitors. They've kind of got to pick what they need to. I think you guys in NBA have been really clear with like your calendar of events and what's happening with other federations too.
Honestly, we talk to all the feds to try to get an understanding, but we literally have a calendar of all the feds, all their shows, where they've held them in the past, so we know potentially when they will hold them in the future, so we know not to go on that date. But then we also can't wait for everyone to put their dates out, so that's why we just put them out super early.
Yeah.
So season A we put out months and months and months ago. I think even before maybe even would have been like 10, 11 months out. We've got a winter season next year, which we've already put those dates out, and we've actually got season B locked in for next year too, which we're going to release. So
that's pretty sick. Is season B your spring?
Or season C it'll be now for us, but we call it spring. We're changing. Okay. It's getting so confusing.
I try my best to keep up to date because it used to just be season A and B, but now I'm seeing season C pop up in places, and I'm like,
so IFBB do A, B, and C. And then because we're bringing out 3 seasons, we didn't want to. We're like, you know what? Because then what if there's a season D? Then what do you do? Like, so we're like, you know what? We're just going to call them the seasons of the weather because that sounds more practical. So autumn, winter, spring. And hey, if we ever did shows in December, January, February, we just call it summer season. Like that's just, we wouldn't call it D or replace it as A. Like, just call it. So
I love that. Get shredded for summer. Stay lean. Just can't have the ice cream. So you got to pick your poison.
Yeah. Well, look, we have the environment for it here. I mean, not the physical. Well, we do have the physical environment in summer, but I mean, like the competitor environment to run enough shows to get people to do them all. So, you know, if our winter is it grows and it's successful, then the next place for us to logically look is then summer, right? Like, you'll be having.
There would be people that would do it. There'd be people that want to sort of be lean for summer, then they want to use their winter to bulk or whatever it may be. So, who knows?
I know IFBB, I can't remember which year it was, but I think it was when they still had the Arnolds, and the Arnolds was like the first weekend in March. Their season was February. Their season A was February, right? Because they had to line it up for the Arnolds, but then obviously COVID happened, the Arnolds finished. But that's how they used to have it. They used to have, it was literally technically a summer season. They had shows in February to lead into the 1st of March. And then the natty feds would start, you know, because ICN used to have the rookie show that was like March sometime and then so on and so forth. I found that the seasons are compressing a little bit. You know, all the season A or the autumn season shows are starting now kind of April. There's not many in March anymore. It's more so April.
Yeah.
And also leading all the way through to the end of May. It used to finish off mid-May. Now it's going all the way to the end.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing out a bit, gives people more time for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. They just tell me what dates, put it in my calendar. I think I work 6 days a week most weeks now, so who needs time off? It's fine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You rest when you're end of life.
I'm already set. I'm ready to go. God, that's so morbid, but it's funny. In high school, I wanted to be a mortician, so I didn't end up doing that, but I'm doing something with end of life. So
no way. We're starting to get a vibe now. You're wearing all black,
I'm just, and my nails are actually, I've got like satanic nails and I've got 666 and Satan spelt out on them. So I don't know, there's just a theme going on around me. Yeah.
Love it. Well, that's the reason why we wanted to have you on today, was to learn more about you, but also to learn more about judging in ICN and all those kind of fun things too. So we appreciate having you on. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Any questions, just feel to reach out. And if, any of the guys or girls have questions about the Federation as well, I'm a bit of an open book. So yeah, reach out.
Awesome.
Great talk.
Otherwise, people will be staring you down when they're on stage this season.
It's fine. I will stare them back down. It's all good.
Love it. Thanks so much. Thanks for being on.
Take care, Jess.
Thanks, guys. Bye.